What's up, the world? It's your boy Tommy Mal, and I just came because I wanted to give my perspective on the ever-changing, opinion-based and analysis of basketball, right? Because it just blows me away, right? As a LeBron fan, we have a rare duty, right? As I said, I'm a LeBron supporter, right? You have a rare duty to speak I think sometimes, because the thing that I don't like about Jordan fans is that they don't argue in good faith. And I've said this 10 million times. Every time you argue with a Jordan fan, it's just they don't have anything substantial outside of team awards and mythical, weird things that have nothing to do with actually playing basketball. They love to say Horace Grant wasn't an all-star, even though they know what Horace Grant was. And then they're like, oh, well, he never made an all-star team. Well, yeah, it was kind of hard for him to make an all-star team when he was the third option on it in the 1990s. It's no coincidence he came an all-star after he left, because he was the third option on the Bulls. Of course, they're not gonna run the offense through Horace Grant. He was still a great player, and they would have won none of those championships without Horace Grant. So the BS line that, oh, Horace Grant wasn't an all-star, it's like, stop the bullshit. Oh, Dennis Rodman won an all-star. Well, if you don't believe Dennis Rodman was an all-star, then take him off that team. Take him off that freaking team and see how many games. They couldn't beat the Magic without Dennis Rodman, right? But all of a sudden they didn't need Dennis Rodman. They didn't need they never needed Dennis Rodman. They never needed a Horace Grant, right? Scottie Pippen ain't that good, right? but ain't nobody with common sense thinking if you take Pippen off the Bulls and put him on the Sonics, you take Pippen off the Bulls and you put him on the Jazz, you take Pippen off the Bulls and you put him on the Blazers. If you take Pippen off the Bulls, you put him with the Suns. Ain't no damn body with common sense think that Michael Jordan would have won a championship. There's no way in the world Michael Jordan ain't beating the Pistons, let alone going to no championship without Scottie Pippen. But they undermine everything Scottie does, right? They always talk about, well, Jordan did this, Jordan did it. Say whatever you want. And that's why I got so angry with what Kevin Durant said, right? Because Kevin Durant, to me, it can be moronical sometimes, right? He does not like people to compare him to LeBron James, right? But he likes soft, when in his responses, he soft disses, right? In my opinion, I feel like if you want to come out at Scottie Pippen and say that Scottie Pippen didn't come in Game 7, we'll tell it how it actually happened, right? I think Phil Jackson is a punk for what he did, right? You don't call up. You would never do that to Michael, and Scottie Pippen had been their leader the entire year. Scottie Pippen that you heard on the documentary. Even though they spent 90 minutes trashing the man, if you look at that documentary, everybody who actually played on the team liked Pippen. They didn't like Jordan, right? So that's why they couldn't get nobody but Bill Wennington to come on there and talk about it, right? They couldn't get nobody to talk positive about it because nobody on that team liked it. They couldn't get John Paxson, BJ. They couldn't get nobody but Bill Wennington. So Scottie was the guy that they would put in, and I'll say this 10 million times, and people tend to forget because once it goes down, it falls in the myth of them. Scottie Pippen was the point forward, right? He was essentially the point guard in their offense. So Scottie Pippen knows what he's talking about. And Scottie Pippen had to change his game to more of a scorer when Jordan retired. So he understands the difference. So he's trying to give KD a perspective that he feels KD needs to learn, because he had to do what KD did. And he probably realized, look, I gotta learn. He gotta learn how to utilize his teammates more, because I feel like Pippen don't want to say it, but he understands that that was Michael Jordan's weakness. He had to do that. Michael Jordan couldn't. And he's trying to say Kobe is KD is a scorer. He scores. But he's not good at getting his teammates involved, and he does not raise the value of his teammates around him. He just doesn't. And nobody wants to point out the fact that the person that used to raise the value of the teammates around him was Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen, the one who accentuated and used everybody in the offense, not Jordan. Jordan was a freaking Kyrie Irving. Go in, score. Play defense. Score, play defense. Now, you're not guarding the top player. You just locking up the third best defender, and when Ron Harper got there, the fourth best defender. Right? You ain't got to do nothing. Scottie Pippen guarding the number one personal. I'm not saying Scottie Pippen is better than Michael Jordan. I don't think Scottie Pippen is better than Michael Jordan. But he was damn good. And he gets no credit, and that pisses me off. Honestly. Scottie Pippen guarded the number one player on the other team almost every time. He still gave you around 18 to 24 points a game. Another 10 rebounds, probably another 6 or 7, 7 to like 11 assists a game. So that is a huge advantage for a guy like Michael Jordan when all he got to do is concentrate on shooting. It's very, very easy to be productive in an offense that revolves around a guy who can do so many different things, and all you got to do is shoot. Ask Kyrie Irving. That's a big difference. I heard Chris Broussard say the most asinine, stupid shit I've ever heard him say. Kyrie Irving would probably prefer playing with Kevin Durant more than he played with LeBron James because he's a moron. Okay? He may be better friends with KD. He is not in a better position than he was with LeBron. He's just not. Okay? You saw how many games he had to take over and basically will shoot way more shots than he was accustomed to shooting. Because Kyrie Irving is not a facilitator. He can try all he wants. He could never mimic what James Harden was doing in that offense. And they struggled without James Harden. That's why this whole narrative that if they had all three of them, they would have been better off. I don't think they would have been. People forget they lost a game with Kyrie Irving. And they were losing the game when Kyrie Irving got hurt. So everybody wants to write it up as Kyrie Irving is, if they would have had Kyrie Irving, they probably... No, I don't know that they would have won the series. Because in most of those games, they had other guys that scored around what Kyrie Irving was scoring. So I'm not saying that Kyrie Irving wouldn't have been an advantage. I just don't know that they would have won with Kyrie Irving. Everybody's speaking, it's like that whole Celtics thing with Kyrie Irving. Oh, well, they went 7 games with LeBron. Imagine what they would have did if they would have had Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. I remember thinking it's only one ball, right? So that's not a fair comparison. When they come back, some of the players that were contributing won't be contributing because they're gonna have to get their minutes cut. It's the same thing with the Nets. A lot of those players that were coming in, the Nets were still scoring 120 points. And I told y'all, it's the offense. No matter what, they're still going to be scoring that until the Bucks slowed the game down. It's the same way they won in game 3 and the same way they won in game 4. Is by slowing the game down. They always would shoot themselves in the foot because when the game was slowed down, they're a better team than the Nets. Then the Bucks want to blow them out, so they start running again. And Drew Holiday, who is a terrible point guard, starts coming down just chunking up shots. Now, when this shot is falling, the game's over. When this shot's not falling, you playing one of the best fast-paced teams in the league. And statistically, the best fast-paced offense ever. So, let's not get it twisted. Right? Like that's why the Bucks struggle. You cut that in half-court offense. Kyrie's a liability. So is Harden. You would put Harden and him on the court at the same time. They would have had two people they could have found out and picked out in that defense for Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Giannis. They would have seeked out Kyrie Irving just like they seeked out every other bad player. So now you got Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, and Harden in. Who's gonna stop Giannis? Who's gonna stop? They were struggling with Chris Middleton with the defensive players on the field. Imagine what they're gonna do with Kyrie and Harden on the field at the same time. Now you can make the argument that if Kyrie's there, Harden doesn't come back. So it's a wash anyways, right? Because without Harden, I don't think their offense runs as well. I think Kyrie Irving is a dime a dozen. It's the same way. And this is what gets me also, right? They'll pop up and they love to try to bring up, you know, it was the greatest playoff performance I ever seen. Okay, that's because you like KD. Trae Young came back the next game and had the exact same numbers KD had. Nothing. Not a word about it being the greatest playoff performance they ever seen. Not a word. The man he hit a game-winning three. All the things KD did, Trae Young did. Mom, that wasn't the greatest performance ever. That wasn't nothing. All it was Trae Young played a good game. Well, doesn't it discount everything y'all just said about Kevin Durant's game? No, it doesn't. Kevin Durant, that was the greatest performance ever. But LeBron scored 50. Well, he should have closed the deal. 3 and 4. But you're confusing me. Your arguments are not consistent. That's the only thing I ask anybody I argue with. Argue with me in good faith. Don't argue to win the fight. Argue to make what you want to be true to truth. Argue the truth. Argue what you actually think so I can actually argue against what you're saying in good faith. I can't argue what you're saying in good faith if you just change the argument the minute you start to lose. And then you have no consistency, which would make me want to stay and continue to keep having a conversation with you about. Because that's the thing I get with you as. 1 minute it's championship. LeBron's played harder teams, so it would make sense that he wouldn't have you can't compare their competition. That's not on the same level. Yes, it is. Okay, explain to me how they're on the same level. Gary Payton was underrated. So an underrated guard and a Washington 3-4 year good player, and Sean Kemp. That's who Andre McGill. Let's be honest, man. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm just not. You can't feed me BS. The Sonics would not be a good team today. Neither would the Jazz. One point guard and a guy who couldn't shoot outside and just went to the rim the whole time. What is Karl Malone gonna do? What is all these players who were pretty much slashers in the 90s gonna do now that you can play zone? Now that we can play zone, you can see Giannis can barely get to the rim when he really can't. Look at Ben Simmons, 7 foot, can dribble like a guard. He can't get to the rim. But you gonna tell me Karl Malone would have been able to? Stop it. Half of these guys who can't shoot now with the zone with that zone defense wouldn't have been able to do jack. Unless you was like Shaq, just brazenly overpowered that you can't guard them one-on-one in the paint. But even it would have been, it's just, to me, it's, as I said, no consistency. It's all over the place. Oh, you can hand check. Who the hell needs to get, I don't need to push you in a direction when I can just stand in a lane. I don't need to hand check you anymore. It's a zone. Oh, well, it makes it easier for the shooter. Well, how the people in the NBA couldn't shoot then anyways? Half of those guys couldn't even shoot. So they would have 1 or 2 people on the court at any given point that could actually shoot. Most of them was 3-point specialists, and you got a couple mid-range guys. Most of the time, the offense ran from the inside out. until Jordan came in, and then it became more of a slasher / one player takeover league. Which really it was just a Jordan. Jordan was the only one that was doing that. And that's because he was able to do that because they could never double down on him because he had Pippen. So to me, it's not even a thing of an argument. Because to me, it's just never in good faith. It's just all over the place, no consistency. 1 minute they saying this, the next minute they saying that, then they looking at you like, well, you're just a LeBron fan. No, you cannot do that. You can't try to have an argument in good faith, and then when your argument falls flat, turn around and just try to undermine the other person's argument by saying some generic thing that will cause them to pay attention to the person more than their argument. No, when the argument started, it was established that you were a Jordan fan and I was a LeBron fan. Now we're going into brass tacks. We're going into who's right, who has more of an argument. Your arguments are based on team awards and mythical stuff that has no statistical data to back it up. Zero. Jordan was more clutch. Well, why is his numbers worse? Jordan took over more games. Why is his numbers worse? Jordan did one thing better than LeBron statistically. Shoot a lot. Not shoot the ball, because his shooting percentage is not higher than LeBron's. He shot a lot. That's the only thing he did better than LeBron, was shoot a lot. Shoot a lot. Period. End of the game. Shoot a lot. What does Jordan do better than LeBron? Shoot a lot. Some idiots, Jordan wanted deep. If you dumb enough to believe that Jordan was a better defender than LeBron, you need to go. I don't even know what you need to do. But a dude that's 6'8", 240, running the 40 and the 4.4 with a 45, 46-inch vertical leap. LeBron could guard 1 through 5. You rarely even saw Jordan on a 3. Let alone a 4 or 5. He was too small. He got abused. But he wanted to do it. He played 2 guard. He was a 6'6" 2 guard. When most of the 2 guards at that time was around 6'1", 6'2". Or the point guards and the 2 guards were around 6'1", 6'2". And he usually guarded the point guard. He didn't even guard the shooting guard. But as I said before, I'm not here to knock Michael Jordan, right? I think Michael Jordan was an amazing player. I still think Michael Jordan is an amazing player. I did not respect what he did off the field, off the court. I thought he was a brazen coward who looked down on people like me. If you haven't had a chance, go check out that Chameleon story. Go check out Mark Henry's story. He treated black people like they were dirt, and used to kiss the ass of white people. I never liked and the more I hear about him, the less I like it. And so he used to treat black people like crap. He would always treat lower class. If he thought you were low class, if he thought you were a person from a hood, they say he had no respect for you. LeBron comes from the hood. LeBron has always supported black people, black issues, stuff like that. That's why I always laugh when people talk about, he wants to speak up about Black Lives Matter, but he doesn't speak up about he didn't want to speak up about Hong Kong and China. Couldn't give 2 shits. The more pressing issue here is police brutality, not whether or not some state in China gets independent 40 years from now. Okay? So I could give 2 shits less if LeBron doesn't stand with Hong Kong. Whatever the hell their name is. I don't care. There's plenty of people in China who live under the communist system who love China. Okay? That is a difference of opinion. That is not the people who stand up and love to say Hong Kong should be free. They ain't never even lived in a communist country. They don't even know what the advantages of communist is in comparison to democracy. They just think communist is Hitler. It's not. Communist is Stalin. It's not. Not every communist country is brutal. Yeah, I'm not saying the Chinese government hasn't done some dirty stuff, but let's not act like America ain't done some dirty shit. So democracy, it's all about the way you use it. Communism, democracy, it's the same shit. People making dumb decisions and people running over the small person. Trying to act like, oh, communists, oh, they're going to be in a communist country, oh my gosh. Like, say that shit, I don't care. They're in China. If they choose to make them Hong Kong a part of China, it's not like all of a sudden Hong Kong is going to... Now, I understand, Hong Kong is great. There's a lot of businesses over there, and I'm sorry for them. But the idea that that small little plot of land was going to stay independent is ridiculous. That was never going to happen. Everybody knew that was never going to happen because it is a humongous defensive threat for China. So if you want to, so the only argument I'm making in this situation is not that you should not feel that Hong Kong should be free. Everybody has a right for their own opinion. Don't try to demonize people who don't stand with you on that issue, because there is two sides to that issue, right? The whole argument that somehow communism is somehow Hitlerism is stupid. It's not. There's plenty of people in China that will tell you, people who move from the United States and go to China, who will tell you they love living in China. China was a great place to play and stay. It was a great place to live. It's like people act like they got people walking around like the KGB just kicking in people's doors. I mean, I'm sorry, they do that here in America. It's not no added thing. It's just y'all in y'all head. So my whole point in bringing up this whole thing was to try to stress KD was wrong for what he said about Scottie Pippen. And I feel like KD has a problem with the most mundane things. He wants people to see him in a certain light. And I get that. I understand. It can be frustrating when people constantly comparing you to LeBron James. But the truth of the matter is that you up that ante by jumping on the Warriors, right? You jumped on the Warriors. It was not a fair fight. So all of a sudden you took on a lot of heat. So you're going to take a lot for him to get out of that rut, because he did what a lot of people call the most cowardice thing they ever saw a basketball player do. Now, do I agree? I mean, I think that's what others decide, but I would love to see him by himself. But that being said, KD got to chill out. You know what I'm saying? I don't think, because what Pippen said was just straightforward. He's not a passer. He's not a person that's gonna get Joe Harris open for a three. Most of those open Harris threes, KD didn't pass him the ball. They were either tip outs or James Harden. So call a spade a spade. The man's just pointing out the truth. You got to get better as an offensive facilitator, but you don't, because you want to be friends with Kyrie Irving and you let them do it. So now all of a sudden now they're gone and you have to take up that slack, and you have no practice and no chemistry with your teammates. That's all Scottie Pippen's trying to point out. And you want to attack the man on a personal level about some shit you know that was more nuanced than what you put out. Anyways, comment. Let me know what y'all think. Thumbs it up if you like it. All right, y'all. Peace.